Well, in this video, I want to talk about the top 4 states in America to be a nomad. So picking a home state has many variables, and it's all going to be on an individual basis with many factors to consider, whether it's state income tax, job availability, personal preference, etc. So on this video, I'm going to mainly talk about the general consensus based on weather and available places to park and to camp. So again, with regards to states business-wise and tax incentives, you're going to have to look at your own individual circumstance. So that being said, let's get into the top 4 states to being a nomad, to call your home state or your home base. They're all going to be southern states in America. Why? Because weather and the climate play a huge part in the nomadic life. You are more exposed to the elements, whether you're living a primitive life out of a tent, out of your car, van, or even if you're living in an RV. All those vehicles are not fully insulated as a house. They're more vulnerable to weather, whether it's wind, snow, ice. And so a southern state, which will tend to have a warmer climate for most of the year, is going to be more desirable to be as a state friendly to a nomad. Now, I will make the notation before we get into the top 10. I lived in my car for 2 years in the Northeast in New Jersey because I was waiting on a job transfer. So now I'm down in Florida. And with that being said, let's get into the top 4 list. So the number one general consensus, in my opinion, that you would want to call your home state or a home base would be Texas. Why Texas? Because it has an overall mild climate against a southern state. It has an abundance of campgrounds, a lot of thousand trail campgrounds, and a lot of just general, whether it's state parks or private parks, places to camp. It's a huge state, okay? So you also are allowed, from my understanding, in just about every rest area off the highway to park for at least 24 hours legally to rest, to sleep in your vehicle, and then you have to move on. You can't abuse it. But because of the mild climate, because of the abundance of campgrounds, because of the rest area regulations, and because it's somewhat considered RV friendly, it's home to Escapees, which is a program you can use, and you can research them for different documentation if you were going to live full-time on the road to secure an address or different benefits that they offer. Look up the Escapees. I believe they have a headquarters in Texas. So for general speaking terms, again, you're going to have to do your own research and look at your own life for your own individual circumstance. But just for fun, I would say the number one state for most, the general population, would be Texas to be a nomad. The number two state to be a nomad would be Arizona. Why Arizona? Well, again, first you're going to start with weather, because weather plays a huge part in the nomadic life. So it's an overall sunny to mild to hot climate in Arizona. Okay, you have an abundance of free camping. You have government-run, what they call BLM land, Bureau of Land Management, which is free camping in many areas. Some you have to take out a permit. There are some time limitations onto which you can camp on that ground. But for the most part, for many people, it's the cheapest and easiest state to be a nomad. And one of the most popular people on YouTube, they do an annual event every year in the winter in Arizona. Now, in the summer in Arizona, it gets very hot, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the video. But I would say Arizona is well known to be RV friendly, to be nomad friendly, because of the free camping, because, again, of the climate. And so I would think number 2 has got to be Arizona. So now we're down to number 3. The number 3 state that is nomad friendly that you should look at. We're going to go California. Okay. Now, again, with regards to taxes and all that type of business stuff, you'll have to look at that separately than this video, but you have to take that into account. But California is number 3 because it has an overall mild climate. Climate is number 1, okay? That's the number 1 thing that you're always going to choose as a nomad as where you're going to spend most of your time. So California is it, man. That's why California will always be fertile land for not just nomads, okay? Not just homeless, because that's why, too, you have a lot of homeless people there. It's because of a mild climate. You know, you can survive outdoors most of the year. But look, you know, you have beaches, you have a lot of job opportunity in California. California, for as much as they say about the homeless population, it's still one of the biggest economic assets to America. If you look at California versus every other state, the job opportunity, the wealth, and the GDP it creates is some of the biggest in America. So you have job opportunity, you have great weather, you have beaches. You have one of the best places in America to be a nomad, California. A lot of campgrounds as well, a lot of campgrounds. So some free, some paying, some Thousand Trails. Thousand Trails is a camping pass that you can buy to be a nomad, to operate as a home base in different places. So the number four state would be my personal favorite state, Florida. Now, Florida is intense, okay? The weather is intense. Everyone loves Florida January through March because it's somewhat mild, even though today I'm making this video in February, it's going to be 90, okay? I'm an intense guy. I like Florida. Why do I like Florida above the other states? Because there's two parts of the nomadic life, climate and culture. So climate plays a part in all the states I mentioned, but I also like culture. What is culture? It's the people and the vibe. Florida, specifically Southeast Florida, has a tropical Caribbean vibe, and that's what I like. You know, Texas has a cowboy vibe. Arizona has a desert vibe. California has a hippie vibe, or like, you know, whatever vibe. So for me, I like Caribbean, okay? I like living a vida loca vibe. So that's for me. That Florida is intense, so it's not for everyone, okay? It's definitely for a lot of people for 3 months out of the year in the winter. That everyone loves it in the winter. But to spend the majority of your time here, you have to be a certain type of individual. There is free camping through this Florida Water Management District. You do have to take out permits. There are a lot of Thousand Trail campgrounds, even though they're mainly part of the Encore system versus the Thousand Trails. The Thousand Trail campgrounds, there's some, but there's more in the Encore. So you have campgrounds, you have a flat land, which means that you could tow an RV and you can drive an RV without burning a lot of gas or without needing a lot of horsepower, because Florida is one of the flattest states in America, so that makes for easy towing or easy driving for the most part. Even though driving is a little bit dangerous because people drive dangerous, you're not driving up a mountain. So the terrain plays a huge part. So you got, to me, great climate, but it's intense climate, not for everyone. For me, you got a great culture. I love the diversity, the flavor of Southeast Florida. Florida's a big state, so you have different flavors. You go northwest, you go southwest, you go northeast, different flavors throughout the state. So you'll have to come and experience it. You got the campgrounds, you got the RV culture, and you also have in your favor that the biggest negative about Florida is hurricane season, which the height of hurricane season is August through September, and even in October. So for those 2 or 3 months, I think you want to try to leave the state or at least be mobile. Because a nomad's number one asset is flexibility, and you have to use it. So in Florida, when you're dealing with hurricanes, you have a heads up on everyone else in the state because you live mobile. So you have the ability to start your vehicle, car, van, or RV, and get out of the state until the hurricane passes, or until hurricane season passes. So I think that you eliminate the biggest negative of Florida, which is you don't have to deal with hurricane season if you want to just get out of the state for a little while. And even if it gets too hot, again, you can get out of the state. But I like Florida for the climate and the culture, the intensity, and the beautiful, beautiful beaches. I think Florida has the best beaches in the entire United States of America, in my opinion. Okay. So for me, those are the top 4 states in America: Texas, Arizona, California, and my favorite, Florida. Write down in the comments below, don't tell me if you disagree. Just tell me what's your favorite state. What do you think the best state to be a nomad is? Click that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. Check out my playlist and my Patreon. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace and love.